Hello, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
All right, so we are live now here on Facebook, and I am so honored. I'm so excited, so honored to be joined by these illustrious leaders across the country and locally. And we are here to kind of talk about some of the things that are happening in our own lives as leaders in our buildings and in our school districts. So I'm excited to have everyone here. And hopefully from this session, we'll glean some information from each other that we'll be able to share with each other as well as learn from each other. So I'm so excited. So without further ado, if we could start off by introducing everyone, and we'll go off, start with Principal Bryant.
Hello, Principal Bryant from Georgia.
Hello, Principal Bryant. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself? How many years have you been in education?
Yes, a total of 27 years in education, 10 years as principal, 8 years as assistant principal. I have a background in special education. I've taught both all elementary, middle, and high school, and I love what I do. I'm currently at a primary school, and I love that level. K through 2 is very, very special. Love my children, especially love my staff.
Awesome. Thank you, Principal Brian. Awesome. Well, welcome to our session today, our leadership conversation.
Thank you.
Ms. Harris.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
I'm Rochelle Harris from Georgia as well. I have 26 years total in education. 6 of those years has been as an elementary school principal. I've also been a literacy coach. I love reading, so that's something that just really moves me. Let's see, I've been an assistant principal, I think for 4, maybe 5 years. And all of my experience has all been in elementary school. I've never been at middle or high school, and I don't wish to get that experience either.
Why bother?
No,
Why bother? It's
That's
too late for that.
Hey, it works. It works. Well, thank you, Ms. Harris. Welcome. Hi, Ms. Peterson.
Hello, my name is Latrice Humphrey Peterson. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California. I started my career off at 18 as a special education assistant. I have about, it's over 20 years in education. I ended up being a teacher for about 6 years in special education. As you can see, there's a theme here. From there, I was chosen from a campus. I went from a campus to district level here in Cypress, Texas, and rolled out a program for 18 plus transition for special education across the district. So at this point, we're at about 300 students across the district, and I train staff and create professional development for that program.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Leader Peterson, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Ms. Ortega.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hi.
My name is LaRonda Ortega, and I am a principal in Buena Park, California. I've been in education about 18 years. Sounds like a long time. 8 of those years as a site principal. I've spent the majority of my time working in urban educational settings. I've had experience in elementary as well as middle school. I've been a principal of a K-8 model as well. And right now I'm finding roots in Buena Park and working with Buena Park School District. So right now I'm a leader of a visual and performing arts elementary school.
Oh, awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. Well,
Yes.
Share some insights on that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Shoemaker.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I am Charlotte Shoemaker from Georgia, and I have 22 years total in education. I have a background in special education in middle school and elementary school. I've been an assistant principal for 4 years, and now I am treading the waters as a principal at a wonderful school full of great students and staff in Georgia. Again, this is my 3rd year.
Awesome. Okay. Welcome, Dr. Shoemaker.
Thank you.
Dr. Young, welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. My name is Atina Young. I am currently a leadership specialist, a formal turnaround and NISC STEM certified campus, elementary campus. principal. I started off as a middle school teacher. So Ms. Harris, once you get there, that's a niche, you will love it. Then I was also a school counselor and then an assistant principal. And so I'm located in Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas, my old stomping ground. Thank you, Dr. Young, for joining us today.
Thank you
Dr.
for having me.
Otway.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Maisha Otway, and I started my education career in Massachusetts. So I've been in the field of education for about 25 years. I have to mark it on the age of my children, but about 25, 26 years. I've been an ESOL teacher, primary grade teacher, upper grade social studies and science, curriculum support teacher, and then I moved from Massachusetts to Georgia, and then I taught in Maryland as well. And then I went into administration from curriculum support teacher, then transitioned to assistant principal for 2 years in Georgia. And then I've been a principal for 9 years. This is my 9th year as a principal.
Welcome, Dr. Otway. Very, very good. And Miss Williams, with
Hi.
that beautiful school in the background.
No, right. On a lovely sunny day in Southern California. So yes, my name is Emily Williams, and I'm in Los Angeles, California. This is my school behind me. The official name is Angeles Mesa STEAM Elementary and Dreams Magnet. And we're in Los Angeles Unified School District in South Los Angeles. So we are STEAM certified, and our Dreams Magnet was just awarded a Magnet Award of Distinction by the Magnet Schools of America. So we're really excited about that. We're the only design thinking magnet in LAUSD.
Wonderful.
Nice.
So,
We're definitely going to stay in touch with you. Yes, STEAM and STEM, those are like ring, 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 ring.
Yes,
So yes, I'll
exactly.
keep in
We're
touch with you guys.
steamers and dreamers and
Design thinking.
all of that hands-on learning.
Yes.
I've been with LAUSD I will say all of my years as an educator. Started out at Compton Unified and then came to Los Angeles. I've taught most of the grades except for middle school. My hat goes off to middle school teachers.
I know.
I enjoy elementary. I enjoy high school. Middle school is different. So I am currently an administrator, a principal at Angeles Mesa, and like all of you, love my staff, love my kids, and it is just a passion.
Awesome. So I am Jamila Hood Kirk. I'm also known as Principal Captain Kirk. So I have been, I started off in education teaching, a second grade teacher for 3 years in Alabama. Loved it. And then moved to Austin, Texas area where I taught special education for 3 years and received my leadership and became an assistant principal in Texas. I did 1 year at elementary level, and then my principal got moved and wanted me to come, actually the school restructured, if you will, and they asked me to go to middle school as an assistant principal. Boy, that was a year. The system, you're right, like the middle school, but anyway, but I learned so much. And so by the time I got back down to 3-5 as an assistant principal, I had a great foundation and understanding as to where my students needed to be in order to be prepared, not just instructionally, just mentally, in middle school and socially. That was a big experience. And then when I moved back to Georgia, I for like a month, I was in school EIP teacher, and then I became a elementary school improvement specialist at the central office level, where I supervised elementary literacy coaches, 25 schools. And then I became principal, and I'm completing my 10th year at my elementary school, where I also the best staff. And it's so, with everything going on, you always knew you had great staff.
Yeah.
But this right here has truly highlighted
It's
the
amazing.
capacity in which they, just going above and beyond. And so I'm very fortunate to have wonderful community, really.
Yeah.
And everyone's just pulled together, and this is just a new normal, which is why we're here today. I just really thought it was important. I know many of you are part of professional learning networks, and these are conversations that are happening in our groups that we're not necessarily having out in the open. But I think it's important for people to kind of know what administrators are going through and how we're handling things, and then in hopes that other administrators will see our journey and our challenges and be able to relate to that. Because oftentimes, it's lonely at the top. So a lot of times you think you're the only one that's going through something, and you realize, no, it's not just you. And so I really wanted to bring you all together, because I do follow you all on social media, or I know you all personally as colleagues, and you all have great things to share, and you have dynamic things going on in your buildings. And even though I haven't stepped foot in your buildings, I can just tell from your social media, not necessarily what you're doing, but what your staff are doing and what's happening with your students. So I just thought it was important for other people and other leaders, especially, to kind of see what you all have going on. And so they get a glimpse of what I get to see on a day-to-day. Well, not day-to-day, I'm not on social media that much, but what I see on social media. So
just part of your self-care.
But look, so this is
let's be honest.
and now exactly. So now I have schools to come visit. So like, I need to go to California and Texas, check out these great things that are happening, because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So, so we're going to talk about 3 different areas today. One, we're going to talk about self-care specifically for administrators. As administrators, we are charged, and we naturally pour into others. And my dad has a saying that you have to fill your cup first in order to fill someone else's. So I really want to kind of talk about how we practicing self-care for ourselves, because you can't practice self-care if or tell anyone else to do self-care if we're not doing ourselves. And then what are your challenges? And then I also kind of want to talk a little bit about culture and climate, because we spend a lot of time pouring into our schools so that we have a positive culture and climate. But how are you all kind of maintaining that support and that culture and that climate and that morale in the times of this uncertainty? So how are you all dealing with those things? And then the third thing I kind of want to talk about, usually when we're in our buildings, we're already planning for next year, right? But there's so many unknowns right now, but you can't stop planning. So like, what are you doing exactly right now to plan for next year, knowing or not knowing whether or not we'll even open the school year in our building? So what are some things that you are currently doing that you could tell another administrator that I might not think about, or they might not think about, that they could be planning for next year? So is that good for you guys?
Yeah, especially with such like first group. We got Georgia, California, and kind of seeing it from a different lens than just we're used to our normal kind of close to each other with districts, but look how they're doing it across. And then the pandemic has impacted California different than Georgia, different than Texas. And I think perspective.
And the states are dealing with things, even with the pandemic, differently. So there are different mandates or requirements that are being pushed down, but not necessarily in California might not be the same for Georgia, and the same thing for Texas. So yeah, I would love to hear some of those perspectives. So let's start off with the self-care. I have a quote I want to kind of read for you guys, and it came from Edutopia. It was a post from 2018 on self-care for administrators. And it says, for some school leaders, it is counterintuitive to think that they might not need to ask for help. But in order to thrive, it's vital that school leaders reach out and create pathways for support. So in thinking about that, we know what we typically do for teachers and our students and for parents, things that we ask or we try to put in place for them. But what are you guys doing specifically for yourself as a leader, as a woman, as a mother, as a sister? What are you doing as a person to really practice self-care when you are still charged with making sure everyone else is taken care of?
I would say for myself, and this is kind of a struggle and something that I'm doing intentionally or purposefully is to really allow myself to give myself permission to process the feelings that I'm having. You know, school closed, we had our closure, we had what we're calling school dismissal. You know, there's a little bit of grieving, a little bit of mourning that I didn't get to say goodbye to my kids. I didn't get to say goodbye to or close out all of the things that we were doing, and give myself permission to to sit with those feelings for a little bit, process them, and do some, you know, some mindfulness work with those feelings, because they're real. And far too many times we suppress those feelings because we're asking our staff, are you okay? How are you? We're asking parents, are you okay? How are you? Same with students. But, you know, not many people are asking us how we feel. So we have to acknowledge it ourselves, or I'm intentionally practicing acknowledging my feelings myself, and doing some mindfulness practice. I take a walk like every day, like think about get some physical activity going, intentionally plant my feet on the ground. It's a grounding activity. You know, it's something I can do with my son too, because I'm also a mom, and many of you said you were moms. So having quiet time is like not a real thing. But if he's out running ahead of me a little bit, and I can take that time to kind of process that, get some physical activity in, and kind of make sure that I'm taking care of those emotions and dealing with them in a productive way.
But LaRonda, you made a good point that I often struggle with. You made the statement of, you know, people don't often ask us how we're doing. And I think, you know, my staff, like I had a staff member, very close-knit staff, whose stepmom passed away from coronavirus. And the next, like 2 days, how are you doing, Dr. Awe? I'm really going to tell her, you know what? I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning answering 15 emails because I want to make sure you all get your emails answered.
Yes.
So when I don't get my email answered, I'm frustrated. So when, you know, it's really figuring out that balance of who do you really tell that it's going bad without it impacting them, because we're always taking care of them. And then that self-talk about what is truly bothering me.
Right.
Have I stopped to say I need self-care? Because if we don't, we're in 2 weeks later or 3, you know, now we're 5 weeks in and it feels like a year. But you know, you're going and you're going and you're going and you're going. And self-care, what's that? Oh, I can't go anymore. Now I'm sick because I can't go anymore. And so it just, what you were saying in the poem, it's like, one, when is it appropriate to not killing by spirit? But then two, my self-care may be different than Emily's self-care and Latrice's self-care, but I really have to be honest on what is my self-care and what is bothering me about this, as compared to LaRonda. This aspect may bother her, and you know, and it usually does connect back to the work that we're bothered.
Yes. And I totally agree with both sentiments. I do. Self-reflection is one of the things that I've been forced to do, because I don't do that very often. Just self-reflecting and remembering my role as, first of all, a woman of God, a wife, a mother, a sister, an educational administrator, wearing all of those hats. And sometimes you have to pile them high because you're wearing them all at the same time. Self-reflection during this time has truly helped me be able to maintain my sanity, because like Principal Ortega said, I didn't have the proper way of saying goodbye to my students or goodbye to my staff. And because I am a hands-on person, I am a people's person, I love my kids, and not being able to put my hands on them and give them hugs and say, you know what, I love you and there's nothing you can do about it. That really bothered me. And processing all of that, I just had to stop, because it was all coming to us, you know, all at one time, because the pandemic is not like retirement. You plan for retirement, thrust into this. Therefore, we had to, my mind just not normally shifting all over the place. I just had to stop so I could keep my sanity.
Yeah, and I'll chime in as well. And even going back to what Dr. Otway was stating, you know, oftentimes as leaders, we don't stop to acknowledge our feelings. And oftentimes people don't stop and say, well, how are you doing? So one of the things that I found to be very beneficial, and it's real simple, but I've taken it all the way back to those Epsom salt baths. I just run a nice bath.
I do that all year.
I take my 30 minutes with my bath salts, and I turn on my music, And that's just my time to unwind, release. If tears flow,
Let 'em
but
flow.
at the end of that 30 minutes, I'm good. My mind is clear. I'm then available once again for my husband, for my kids, for my family, for my students, for my staff members. But I found that if I don't have that, as you were stating earlier, Ms. Kirk, you know, we deplete ourselves. And how can we pour into someone else when we are empty? So all of that is important. The meditation, talking to God, just connecting that way constantly throughout the day, and just feeling like a person, you know, and not feeling guilty about taking those moments, because that is something that I have struggled with in the past. Is if I take that 30 minutes or I take that hour, that's time that I didn't have with my kids, or time that I wasn't able to respond to that text message to a teacher who may have needed me. But I have to understand that I have to feel me first and then pour into others. So
Absolutely.
that's something that's been helpful for me.
I was going to say, for me, I always try to separate. I know it's hard, especially when you're an administrator, but separate work from home. And so I'm still doing that. I'm going to do it. I work as much as
I am not there yet.
I'm there.
It's hard.
I am there. So as much as possible, just like we enforce schedules for our teachers, for families, and I do it for me too. I'm scared. There's a shut off time because y'all got to do it, because it's going to help you all. I watch my mother. My mother's a retired principal, as I said, Fanny Humphrey from LAUSD, and she didn't always have that shut off. And so growing up now, I realize the value of shutting that off for a while and giving your time to your family and to yourself. And one of the things I do for self-care, for me, Epsom salt baths I've been doing the whole year, but also exercise. I find that I have a lot of anxiety from watching everything that we are being
television.
fed.
I don't watch it. Watch it.
So I have started shutting it off because
I watch the board
realized,
meetings. That's it. That's my move.
I realized
What
it
are we
was giving me anxiety through the evening times and everything. And
Mhm.
so when I feel that way, which is pretty much every day at this point, I literally just begin exercising, whether it's a walk outside, I have a jump rope, I have some weights, I crank the music up, and I just release. And I have found that is being very helpful for me to just balance my mind, my body, which I think, of course, our body is connected to our mind.
Absolutely.
And then my mind settles. And so I've been doing that as well. And starting off, as a reminder for me, starting off with my meetings to my teachers, or any kind of conversations we have, asking them how they're doing, it's reciprocated back.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing a lot, and we're getting on calls and video. The Zoom is like going nuts here, but we're getting on Zooms and we're putting out a lot of information. I try to start off every meeting with just, how's everybody doing? Let's just talk about one another. What great things happened to you this week, and how you've been managing everything. So
for those of you who like music, you all were talking about music. In California, it is on your time, but D Nice on Instagram.
I didn't watch that. That was good.
The quarantine room, that was every night. I'm like, old songs I didn't even know existed. So you know, you're jamming. So Instagram Live. Nice. It's like you're. Sometimes I read the post and I laugh and I feel like I'm in the club with these people.
Exactly.
How often have we as principals been able to go out and dance?
Right.
Exactly.
Without someone telling on you.
Exactly.
Trying to go to a different part of the city so you won't run into somebody else.
No solo cups, just a wine glass.
Exactly. And you know, for me, I had this inner struggle because I always felt guilty as an administrator anyway, that I did not get to fully participate in my own children. So when I'm home, those first 2 weeks was tough. For my husband, both of us working from home, because I have a 2-year-old, a 5-year-old, 13 and 17. Wow. And the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old don't understand that mommy still has to work. So while I'm still having these individual meetings or grade level meetings, and I'm trying to check on everyone, they are literally like sitting behind me, pulling up my shirt. I have to keep my, my video off and wanting something to eat, and I'm taking a break, and then I'm running to get them something to eat. So I had this challenge of, okay, I know I need to take care of myself, but then I'm a mom though. So I got to take care of them first, because it's not their fault that they don't understand what is going on and why, the 2-year-old's not in daycare and the 5-year-old is, running amok around and climbing the door frames and everything. So that was a struggle for me. And so I'm putting out the schedule for school for the parents. I have a nice schedule, color coded, went out to everyone. Did I follow it? I tried really hard to follow it, but I'm sitting in front of the computer all day. So if it's not the school meeting, it's the district meeting, and then it's the other things in between. And I don't want to slack on anything. But so although I was feeling guilty when we were in the buildings, now I'm even more guilty because my pre-K student is not getting the instruction that he needs. So I was really struggling with that. And we had to sit down and say, look, let's come up with a plan, because this is not working. And so, okay, I'll schedule my meetings at a certain time. So then there you go. Their time is this time, and around nap time, moving on, then my meetings are from like 11:30, 12, when I know they're eating lunch and ready for a nap. And I can go down, and that was the way I can only really make it work and try to get it in before they woke up from the nap, which that's a whole nother thing. But I really did struggle with trying to balance, and I do the Epsom salt because I got a few bags from birthdays and bosses that I didn't open. I was like, oh, I need to open these now.
And the gift cards.
And spend more time outside on the deck that I wasn't really doing, doing things like that, and just really, taking time to do, spend time with the family and do things. And then I realized what are my hobbies? I realized I didn't have a hobby anymore. Like I used to have things I used to do or hobbies, and all of a sudden now what do I do? So I had to figure out what to do with that as well. So
I have another point that took us through the stress that made me think about what you said, Jamila. The first 2 weeks were very stressful for me because we already as leaders struggle with disseminating information and having someone else say our message or do the work. Well, in the situation, how it rolled out for us as principals, we were responsible for working on meal distribution and device distribution. And we couldn't be in the meeting. So my team helped me self-care, because I would have tried if I could have been in all those meetings, dealt with the devices and the food, but I was able to my AP, gotta go, here's the schedule for the staff meeting. So I couldn't be in staff meetings, I couldn't be in PLC meetings. And I had to say, okay, we're gonna meet, and we know how we hate that last minute 7 o'clock, you got a meeting in 10 minutes, calendar invite that you didn't know you had. So I was all planned, here's my PowerPoint, you guys, sorry, you got to get on the call, I got to walk you through the PowerPoint, ask me all the questions, hurry up. I'm driving to school, and so I can't even, the first 2 weeks when you're trying to calm everybody down and you want the voice to come from you, that self-care also came in trusting that your team is going to hit it for you. So it's like my instructional coaches, my instructional support teacher, my assistant principal. It was like, okay, y'all got this. We're on the call, go. And it ends up being the strength that you're able to trust them when you go back to the real world. I already trusted them, but it was like, this is a pandemic and it's a crisis.
Yeah, because my team.
Take it. Yeah. It's like I go to bed being like, Dad, I told them, I said, we really got to, they took care of that faculty meeting that I took all night to put the PowerPoint together, and they got it in 20 minutes. And now I got to go worry about devices. So that became a huge stressor, but it also was a lesson of, now you can start disseminating stuff in a reasonable way, ladies. So not putting all that, stuff on.
You don't have to do it all. You're right. And I think all of us can probably attest that we have strong teams around us. And that's key as we're preparing for next year. It's like, okay, I got to make sure I have strong people who can support, because I'm sure all of us could not do the work that we're doing right now if we didn't have strong people around us. When I say, like, I would walk fire with them, like they are tremendous. Like I really would. They would. You're right though, because there were so many things. If you don't have a strong team, I remember talking to Anika, and she was already at the school giving out packets and going to apartment complexes and dropping off things. And so right. And you couldn't have done that if you didn't have other people around you. And knowing that we need to be quarantined ourselves, but you can't do that. Like your students need things.
Yes.
That's correct. I work in a very 100% poverty. 100% poverty.
We built strong teams But the thing is, you know, we do deserve some credit because we have molded these teams and they possess that we need for them to have at this time right now. And so we all on the fly right now. But because we have helped to mold and shape some of these leaders, help to build their capacity, they have truly stepped up. And I will say that about my folk, just like many of you have said, they just know what to do and when to do it. And yes, today I was at the school building, and yes, we are shelter in place. And if I'd gotten stopped and the cop said, "Where are you going?" and I was going to say work, well, what do? I'm an educator. Well, schools are closed, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I
got a letter.
Right.
Got a letter.
Schools are, yeah, they are, but sir, you know, people need things right now. And, you know, I don't know how many folks showed up. Everybody was going in a different entry as to not pass each other. So I don't know who all was in the building today, but the team that needed to be with me running Rizzo on the Toshiba, on the copier, sort and stapling, we got the job done. And I was going to say, in terms of self-care, because I know that I have people around me who are going to help me be my best, I am able at some point in time during the day to shut it down. And I found that in my many years that you got to cut school off. And I do go and accountability workout.
Me either. I'm trying. I'm struggling.
I don't know how to do it.
We're logging online and we're doing
and I will be the first to say that you have to shut it off. But when you hear that text message come in and you know it's from your work phone or that email, you're going to check it and you're going to respond.
And we do.
Really,
and guess what?
Because we're just attacked.
Oh yeah, you know, right by my side. Right by my side.
No, people, we still have.
You just said something about it reminded me. I was like, oh yeah, and I was over here texting. But I go out, I work out, I go run or I go do an online class for a minute. But yeah, you're right. We come back to the phones and we continue on into the evening. But you do have to put this up aside. But it's just trying to figure out a good balance right now. But
right, Dr. Young, you were going to say something?
Well, I love the fact that, you know, Ms. Bryan talked about the whole balance piece. And I think one of the, like you know, Principal Kirk, I think the second week was like the hardest week. I don't know about y'all, but like I physically was frustrated. My shoulders were hurting. I think I started getting a little grumpy to my family.
My shoulders,
Yes, and it was like it came out of
numerous days. Yeah.
At first I was like, okay, Lord, not Corona, please don't take me. I'm not ready. It came out of nowhere.
That's not even funny.
And I'm being serious because I really thought, oh my God.
I know.
It's like body is
the same thing.
Yes. If we don't take care of ourselves, it's not going to work.
Some of you guys talked about pouring into, you know, we pour into so many others, and something hit me and I woke up and I text my mentor and said, hey, do you have a second? I need to talk. So I had to call my mentor, someone, you know, because we pour into people all the time, but someone who can pour into me. And the same conversations we're having right now were like the same conversations that she and I were having. And, you know, she was really good at, you know, what's frustrating you? Let's figure out and identify what that looks like and help me with strategies moving on. And I'm thinking to myself now, you know, I was a leader and I work and support leaders. Now I couldn't think of this. But sometimes
you're in the mood. You're in the mood.
And sometimes you just have to go back to what you know. And so from that, I just picked up the next day and I went back to journaling. And so that's been one thing I think that's been very helpful, trying to shut it off, because it's hard to shut it off. But journaling and getting my thoughts down have helped me kind of plan my own mindset, because like you, I have a husband who's in education too, and he's in central office. And then I realized I was getting frustrated because he was having to go to work.
Right.
You know, like really, like I'm going,
like where you going?
So, but then I realized, you know, there is what's our vision, and there is a greater purpose that God put us on earth for. But I had to identify and center myself. So I love the fact that you mentioned that piece about who pours into us. And so I just wanted to make sure we mentioned the mentors.
Yes.
Oh, I heard you all say things like the Epsom salt baths, the journaling, the exercising, mindfulness. It's really connections. That was one thing. Connections, mentor, calling a mentor, because if you have a mentor or if you don't have one, getting one. Dancing. What did you say, Dr. Otway?
Club
Club
quarantine.
quarantine.
Yes, of
On
quarantine.
Instagram.
Exactly. And one of the things my sister would remind me, I have two sisters that are doctors, so that was something that was also there in my ear, right? So they're constantly like, no, you can't do this, don't go to the school. So you have that challenge.
Yeah.
And one actually ended up getting sick, but thankfully, thank God she was tested negative, but she had to stay quarantined for at least a week. And she has a family. But one of the things that she really had to keep reiterating to everyone was that it's not the social distancing, it really should be physical distancing.
Yeah.
And so that kind of put in a different perspective for me as well, because one, it does force you to be more connected to people, because if you weren't talking to people before, or you weren't calling and checking on people, you're definitely doing it now and staying socially connected. And I think that's just as important as well, not to isolate yourself from other people, so that you can still, you just physically distancing yourself, but you're still socially connecting with other people, because that's one thing that we even talk with our teachers is like, it's okay for the students to come on and just talk to each other. They miss each other. So you might have to get that out of their system so they can have time just to, connect to their peers. And that's one of the reasons why, yes, we have our faculty meetings, but the real reason now, if they're watching, they know now, is because I just want to see their faces. Like, I just want to put my eyes. I called a couple people today, like, you know what? I need to hear your voice. I need to see your eyes. I need to see your face. So I just want to, make sure you're okay. And then what I end up finding out is that I didn't realize, I knew, but then when teachers actually disclosed that they were having anxiety, that was different for me, because in the building, I can see you, I can help you out, but I feel helpless from here and not knowing, or I hear about families don't have anything. It's just so, but it all goes back to, like you guys said, self-care. We have to take care of ourselves first, because we can't take care of anyone else. One, if we're not here, because there are a large number of, principals already burn out. There's a large percentage of principals that have burnout anyway. So I'm sure that, on top of that can really expand it. Not only the fact that, like, my thoughts and prayers go out to those administrators that we keep seeing posted that are passing away of this virus. And some of them were those who were in the buildings or out in homes or things of that nature. And so there are administrators that are passing from this virus. So, hopefully you all make sure that you all are definitely taking care. Are there any other things that you all would give and tell another administrator that you would suggest for self-care? You mentioned a schedule. Someone mentioned a schedule. I think Ms. Peterson, you mentioning putting a schedule together for your own self, and so making sure that you're following your own schedule. Walking outside, even if you sit in front of the computer, I was gonna walk out the front door just to get some fresh air, or I'll sit near a window so that I'm getting it, because I was like that even in my building. I didn't like my blinds closed. I like light. So I have to sit near, and then, or when we have district meetings, we've been on our district meetings, Manika and Rochelle, where we're out sitting on our balcony or our decks, having the meetings on our deck, not necessarily in our home. So little things like that. Are there any final thoughts about self-care that you think that other administrators should know that we didn't talk about?
Don't start grabbing the chips and stuff. Don't balance out the bad food, because it puts your mind. Honestly, though, you gotta pour into yourself in a healthy way. So when we go to the store, you schedule your day, but I also schedule my snacks that I shouldn't be eating. So I just said, because what happens is we continue to pour in those bad things. Our bodies, we're gonna walk around, it doesn't handle stress when it's not healthy. So I found myself not only exercising, but really monitoring much more than I would my portions. And then, I love brownies and apple, the little apple tarts from Drake. But, just saying, okay, not that I've earned it or anything, but just really trying to say, this is what I'm going to eat today. And usually I grab it on my way before I go to my walk. I have an organization of walking around my neighborhood 3 times. If I don't get it in 3 times, then I know I'm not taking care of myself. And sometimes people let me do it once, like once in the morning, once in the middle of the day. And that really puts me in a better mood. And even if I do have to stay up a little later answering emails or texts, then I know I've done that. Another thing, I try not to text and respond to emails about work when I'm on my walks.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
I'd almost drop into cars. I'm like, okay, I'm going to kill myself.
Right.
I would also include that, we lend a lot of grace to our staff and to our communities, and we need to lend that to ourselves. We talk about schedules, but we're in a different time. So I learned that I can't be rigid with my schedule, because I did exactly what you did, Principal Kirk. I had like the best, most beautiful schedule for my son, and like it didn't work. So it had to go out of the window, and I had to not feel guilty about that. And I had to move forward with flexibility and know that our day is just going to be different, and it's okay if it's fluid. Like we just have to be okay with some of that rigidity going away.
Quality versus quantity. I think that's the key. Quality versus quantity. So then I had to realize that it's what I do with him, you know, with Zuri and Ishmael versus how much time I have in them. So when I'm with them, then I need to be present. So that's something I'm definitely still working on. And you made a really good point, the vessel, because even with this virus, one of the things that we talked about on our family Zoom meetings is healthy eating, you know, vitamin C, the smoothies, the antioxidants that we put in there, you know, making sure your vessel is good on the inside. So when that virus comes, it can fight it. So, you know, if you're because when you look at the people who are getting sick with those underlying conditions, their bodies are already in a state of condition.
Compromised state, yeah.
But if compromised conditions. So we have to make sure that our insides are very healthy. And so that's something, and it's probably why I'm eating a little more than I normally do, because I'm trying to make sure, you know, that my, you know, get the gummy vitamin C's, or make sure they have a lot of oranges, just making sure that my children are eating healthy as well, drinking alkaline water, and just making sure that my insides are, regardless of what comes in there, it's going to fight it regardless. So that is a good point that you make, is making sure our vessels are healthy. So that's good.
And I'd like to add the piece that you were talking about, the family time, because that is also an important piece. When it is family time, when you talked about being present, make sure you are present. I've made a point to put my work stuff in a whole nother room so that I don't have a reason to go back to it, which is sometimes very hard when I receive text messages. Someone needs me. And then I've learned, because no, it's so hard to say, hey, give me about 30 minutes or an hour. I'm spending time with my family. And I've had someone say, I love the fact that you are putting that in the forefront, because I have an emergency, but I can get to you in 30 minutes. That for me is my time right then and there, because I don't know if I'm going to get this time back. So I love the fact
that's a good point.
That's true.
Physically,
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that is a good point. Physically moving.
I love
it,
the way you put that.
And you know, some people have their emails like connected to the personal phone. That's one thing I've never done. My email, my work emails are on my work phone. My personals on my personal. That's one thing, because I know how I am and I can't separate it. And in 10 years as a principal, this was the first spring break that I did not. My phone died that Sunday before, and I didn't realize it until Tuesday. I have it on. Sorry, boss. But I did not charge it for the first time in 10 years. I did not have my phone. And I detached from, that was in 10 years, that's sad.
Yeah.
And how did that
feel?
At first I felt a little uneasy. I'm gonna be honest. I felt a little uneasy. And then I was like, you know what? I'm intentionally going to, and I'll ask for forgiveness later. And I just put it away. But I did have a little anxiety about it at first, because I'm that principal. Even before all this, before my last child, really, when the phone would ding, even in the middle of the night, I'm rolling over looking at like, oh, you know, because I'm thinking, or I'm that principal that in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to email stuff at night when all the kids are down. But my staff are like, Ms. Kirk, why are you up at 1 o'clock in the morning? You know, so I had to really change that, because I had to realize that if I'm doing that, I might have staff that are doing that too. So I've been doing better. They may say I have a little more to work on, but I've been doing better. And they want to
send it out in the morning. Like that. You can type them at night. I'm not telling bad habits anyway. I was gonna say you can schedule it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about bad habits.
Bad habits, yeah. Okay. So our second point. Yeah, right. Okay, so we have 2 more points, but I think the self-care was the most important, so we spend more time on that, but that's okay. So our second point is the positive climate and culture. So the New York Times had an article on April 6th, Valerie Strauss, there's a quote in her article. She says that in our haste to rethink school for shelter in place, I worry that we are opting for taking business as usual online, and in so doing, losing an opportunity for responsive creativity and change. So in the midst of that, as leaders, how are you all maintaining, or how has your positive school culture and climate increased since we've been in this pandemic. So for example, we talked about a little bit how our staff has really stepped it up, right? How we really came together and they're really being creative with things, thinking outside the box, because you have to. When you have little, because they didn't have time to go back in the building and get materials to teach. They're making up things as they go and really trying hard. How are you all maintaining that positive school culture and climate? If you were, or what are your challenges with that you would want some advice on?
Constant communication with everybody, our staff and students as much as possible, but especially our leadership team. We are in a part of a GroupMe app communication, and we talk every day. Even on the weekend, I get messages saying, hello, how are you? And it makes me feel good to know that someone actually cares about me and my well-being, rather than just you are the principal and you are supposed to care about us and it's not reciprocated, because it should be. And making sure for me and my administrative partner, which is our assistant principal, we see each other every week, because our school is a meal site. So we're in our school very often with less than 10 people. It's probably like 4 people there total. But we're there, like Ms. Bryant said, copying packets for our students and making sure that our community is taken care of, because we do live in a work and live in a needy community. And so we just being there keeps me sane, knowing that I'm still providing support. May not be in the way that I want it to be. However, I'm still providing support. And like Ms. Peterson said, when we have our faculty meetings, saying, how is everyone doing? How are you doing? And even when I send emails, that first sentence is going to be 1 or 2 things. I pray all is well with you and your family, or how are you and your family? Every email that I send. Now, the struggle for me is my interaction. I have an interaction with my students like I'm accustomed to, just like you all. But that communication, checking on people. One of my staff members' aunt died of COVID-19, and also one of my staff members' husband, she told me yesterday when I called to check on her that he's in the hospital, and she said the hard thing is not being able to be there, but he did test negative, thank God for that. But they don't know what's going on, and just letting them know it doesn't matter what time you call. If you need me, you can text me, call me, and they already know that when they need me and I can be there, I'm going to be there for them. Just that constant communication, and like someone said, FaceTiming, going on Zoom, Google Meet, and this morning, I forgot to say good morning to the leadership team. They called me all day, but because I was moving so much, I didn't get to call the message until 2:00. And by that time, it was 5 teachers trying to see what is going on with Mrs. Shoemaker. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. I was just working. I really wasn't. I didn't have my phone. They were like, we thought we were going to have to come look for you. No, but I am the one who starts the day off with the morning team. And I did it this morning. So I've got to be more conscious of that. I told her I kind of overslept this morning trying to get to the school, get up, take a shower, get all that stuff. I said, that's the reason why I did say good morning, and I apologize. But I did say good afternoon, so they know I'm okay.
And that communication piece is very key, especially during this time. And so one of the things that I've tried to do is to not let every communication that comes across or out to the faculty and staff be about school. So I do a lot of just, hey, how are you doing? What's going on with you? One of the emails that I sent out is simply just said, I just wanted to check on you, make sure you're good. What are you guys watching on Netflix? And that took off. We got so many responses. Everyone was jotting down, or sharing what they're watching on Netflix. And so that took a different little spin into other little conversations and really getting to know people. When you start seeing, okay, what are you watching? The Tiger King. And I'm like, now what girl is that?
I got Carol Baskin.
Okay, so who's watching Tiger King? I'm like, no.
Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I peeked into it and I was like, no.
But it's horrible. But I
got some
watched
good ones out of it too. They told me about Ozark, and that is
that's good.
I'm now
yeah.
So, just trying to lighten the air a little bit and just see what's going on a more personal level, and not hey, what's going on in your class? Do this, do that.
Mhm.
All of that off the table, because they're going to do that anyway. So just trying to make sure that we're creating those bonds and keeping those relationships going, even though we're not seeing each other day to day. And it's actually forced me to reach out to people that I guess I may not have spent more time with in the building, just
Mhm.
getting to know them a little better as well. So those relationships are deepening because of it, because I'm truly intentional in making sure that I'm touching base with every single employee. So I think it's a great thing. So, when we go back, we'll have something else to talk about.
Yes,
Right.
please. Yeah.
We've done
I
a
love
couple
the
of
back.
things. One
Go
thing is, were you gonna say something, Natina?
No, you got it. You go ahead.
So one of the things was we all talk about communication because we as leaders are very frustrated right now, and I can assume everyone on here, the fast pace of change. Today I told my parents this, tomorrow is that, and
Right.
just yesterday,
Yeah.
Wednesdays are typically our device day. Well, I sent out Tuesday, remember to call all your parents, remember, here's about devices. That morning, tell everybody there's no devices, right? So
Right.
you know that communication, you want that communication to be clear. So one of the things with communication as a team, we kept communicating, we are in a crisis. You see all these people on Pinterest teaching all these lessons and doing all these wonderful things. It's great. But when that virus hits your family, are you going to be able to continue?
Yes.
So the communication is, let's be realistic. Here's the information. And here are the three things. We're going to contact the parents and get the kids who are in the dark. We're going to do that. Make sure that we can communicate. We're going to collaborate.
Yeah.
So 5 people, you might have been an EIP teacher yesterday. Guess what? These are your 10 kids. You're teaching them, and you're on the 5th grade team now.
Yeah.
So this is about everybody working together to create lessons. And some you're going to create a video and they're going to watch it. Some are going to get the packet, but we're going to make it reasonable. And then we're going to ensure that we're monitoring the data. Like if we use already, we're monitoring the data. Those are the 3 things that I'm holding you accountable. All that other stuff, if you choose to have that and you can do it, you just make sure you can maintain it because it's not reasonable. So that's one thing that with the communication is, let's all talk about the same thing instead of it being 50 things, very much of what is being communicated to me, how can I make it smaller, and then give it back to the school community. Another thing is that I have some partiers. I know those of you who follow me on Instagram, you know that we like to tear it up at my school. So we have contests. Like I've donated all of my, I live an hour from the school. And so I donated all my gas money. And so we have competitions in our chat. We had a post up, go ahead and post up your favorite vacation picture if you have gone. And then whoever gets the most reactions, they get a $10 gift card. Whoever had the most phone calls that were accurate, you get a $10 gift card. We had a staff member come back. Now you come back, you've been out on breast cancer, leave for breast cancer. You come back to an empty building. Now we had a whole pink out in the staff meeting, and we don't use Zoom. We use a Teams platform, but now we're going to transition to Zoom because in Zoom you can see everybody. So we've made sure that, when we get to certain meetings that are smaller because of the platform we use, we're ensuring that when we're on that platform, take the bonnet off. I need to see your face. I need to see people, and I don't want to see the circle. But in the big ones on the platform that we use, you can only see like the 3 people, the AP and I. So we just have a group of people who will come up with different ideas. And I'm not always the one coming up with the ideas, but I'm like, okay, what's the competition? And my assistant principal like, okay, we're going to do this. And everybody knows when she's even in a text, you can hear her saying, good morning, that energy coming through. Yeah. Done it already. Like that's the culture of the school. And then the third point I was going to make is that in those meetings, because we ask questions and people are answering in the chat, I'm hearing from people who, if we were in a true staff meeting, they would say anything. So they're more connected. And we put on our school improvement team, we meet on Fridays. That's where we're making sure that our team, I have one of my coaches, that's her item. How can we continue to be connected? My assistant principal, she looks at, how are you feeling today? We take down those names. Hey, I saw you threw up an 8. That's great. Keep it up. Somebody threw up a 10. Who's closer to that person on the admin team? You call them and see why they threw up a 2. Why they have a 2. So there's a lot of things because the culture, we really do try to engage our staff because they work very, very hard, and we want to keep them energized because our kids are in much needs and they have a lot of needs.
Yes.
But we didn't want to lose that from this digital environment. So next week, like I said, we were like, because we've done some interviews, and I know that's the third topic, but we've done some interviews and we said doing interviews on Teams is not as engaging as Zoom, and the district is allowing us to still use Zoom. So we said, let's just go ahead and start using Zoom for faculty meetings, because then, and we're even, watch out, you're gonna watch on Instagram. My staff is laughing at me. We're gonna make a dance video. Don't worry, I'm gonna come up with the moves and everything. But we're gonna put it on Instagram, but we're gonna do it on Zoom, get all the staff in in that cohesive. So you do have to do it. The piece that I don't feel I'm good at right now is engaging with my kids. Like I do dance, I have dance groups with my kids. We have, different groups of people, and that has really, I jumped into a couple of classes, but I haven't, so I would love to hear some ideas about that. I haven't been able to really connect with the kids. Even at meal distribution of devices, I got so excited, Mason, but that's 2 seconds in the car and they're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. The kids, so we did, so some of the things did the caravan. We saw people doing across the country, different caravans. That was awesome, but it was also emotional. For a lot of us, because it was threefold. One, my teachers got to see where students live. That was an eye opener for some. Two, and I did have parents express, afterwards that, coming through, like we didn't know it was their child's birthday, or they were struggling on that day, and that's just coming through made, they cried, and it was, truly felt like we, actually cared about them, but they didn't realize it was actually more for us than it was, for them. But then, like you said, I'll jump in on the lessons, like they have a schedule, the teachers do. And that's not to check up on them. It's so I can come in because the students do want to see you. So I'll jump in on the lessons. We had we have 630 or so students, but we had like 100 students that weren't accounted for. So in 3 weeks, we hadn't heard from them. We don't know if they don't have technology or they're just not getting on. So, my paraprofessionals, we were trying to figure out how we pull them into the fold and make sure they stay connected. So we utilize our paraprofessionals to help call those parents and reach out. And then my assistant principal and I did the same thing. And so it was really nice to call parents and them like, oh, hey, you come and check on us? Like, yeah. And it was really, they're not doing lessons. Well, you want to talk to her? Well, sure, put her on the phone, So, that was a way of really connecting with the students as well. And I really enjoyed it. Not that we didn't do it before, but just saying, hey, I'm calling to check on you because we haven't heard from you in a while. So that one was really, that was pretty cool. And Cahoots, my AP and I did it. We just tried it for a week, and we did a K235 2 days, and we had an online Kahoot lesson where the students could come on. We did a Kahoot game. It wasn't instructional. It was strictly fun, and the students got on and they got to play Kahoots. And then our specials teachers have 3 days a week. They do specials like PEs Monday, Wednesdays music, Fridays art. And so we'll jump in on those as well, because so that the students can see us. And we also kind of get to see who's on the computer or who's not. They're not doing the lessons, but they're getting on specials. I know, okay, that's a different conversation. So that's just a couple things that we've been trying to do. And like you said, the Zoom meetings, the first thing, those first couple of weeks, it was important for us the first thing we asked staff was, how are you doing? And reminding them to do the best that you can. Like, it was almost like, how do you want your boss to do you? Like, do the best you can. We know you're at home with your own children. Because that's the thing that people don't realize is that we're asking teachers to do this work, but they have their own children. Like, they're trying to figure out this thing of how I'm going to get all this instruction to the children. But then I have like 3. Yes, we know that was our choice to have 4 or 5 children. That's beside the point. The point is I got them, and I got to still make sure they get their lessons. And so we couldn't make the schedule where they were bogged down with just giving lessons all day long, but that they had time to actually, and that's how you support. That's how you create a positive culture and climate, by understanding, having empathy, and creating an environment where it's okay to struggle a little bit and not know it all. Like that in itself, that's what I realized. It was like an aha for me. It's like, okay, the best I can do is say, it's okay. Or you call Ms. Kirk, I don't feel well today. Okay, just tell you, move your office hours. Tell the parents you're not gonna be on today. It's okay. You're allowed. Just because you're home doesn't mean you don't get sick. Doesn't mean you don't have sick children. So take care of yourself first. And if a parent has a question, I did have to tell a parent, look, they're doing the best that they can. They have children at home too.
Mhm.
So please be patient with us. We
Yeah.
promise we'll do the best we can. And contacting those parents, I didn't say teachers contact the parents. You know, some are going to do it anyway. Give us
Yeah.
the names of the ones you haven't heard from, and we'll call for you. And those were kind of things that we were trying to do to be supportive, so they can focus on that work that they're doing, and we can take off some things off their plate. That's fulfillment for me, because, and that's how I have justified in my mind that I'm supporting the staff by doing that.
Yeah. I was gonna,
I think you made some, go ahead. Go ahead.
no,
No,
you
you
were
go ahead,
fine.
Patrice.
I was going to say, when Principal Tay was talking about the school spirit, I actually had a transition teacher call me, and she's having a hard time not connecting with her students and going to her teachers and checking in with them on trying to get students employed, and they're going to lose skills. And she just said, I hope that all of the teachers are also keeping the spirit going, and maybe we could do the same thing. So we were talking about doing a Zoom or what have you, where we're going to wear our favorite team hat. We're going to do
Spirit
this,
Week,
and
yep.
so that we can do that Spirit Week still, especially for high school, which is
Yeah.
huge. They can
Mhm.
extend that into those to their students as well, and just keeping that spirit up through doing fun Zooms. And I think Principal Tay mentioned that, and then Principal Kirk just mentioned an empathy. You know, I cringe, like sometimes at the district level, they have to give directives, and you know, they're telling us these things, and I literally can see the faces of the people, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we don't know. I mean, they could be struggling with food right now. Our own staff.
Yes. Yes.
People are laid off. Someone emailed me the other day and was like, we're just doing okay, but my husband got laid off. Like, that is huge. So
Yeah, it
in
is.
my last meeting, I did, you know, generally, you know, to everyone say, if you need something from me that I can help you with personally,
Right.
I'm very resourceful. We can figure it out together. And so I'm hoping at some point they will open up, but lending that ear of understanding and empathy, and they have children. Some are pregnant. One was being induced. We're in the meeting, and she was worried about being induced for her baby the next day. So just remembering to reach out to them. And I think someone mentioned their staff member's family member passed away of COVID-19. Just
Yeah, both. I think everyone may have.
yeah, I mean that, and just people being sick. I can be a witness to that. My mother was sick, had to go to the hospital. No COVID-19, but my whole weekend I was rattled. You know, so people checking on me helped me move on this weekend, the weeks to come. She's out, thank God, and everything is good. But just that empathy piece is big for me.
Yeah, it is.
I'm an empath and extrovert and all this stuff, so I'm feeling everybody right now. Yeah.
That's cool.
And I love the fact that you mentioned earlier when you were talking about realistic expectations. I'm not sure which one of you guys said that, but you know, in talking to the people, you know, the people that I support, I had to remind them, we have an opportunity where we're leading a little bit differently than what we've been leading before. And that includes for me. So I told him, I said, you know, my goal for you is to lead with high levels of compassion, flexibility, realistic expectations, kindness, and most importantly, space. And I think we talked about that earlier, giving not only ourselves space, but also giving the others space as well. And so I gave them some strategies, you know, to kind of challenge them. If you are having a Zoom meeting, maybe dedicate 30 minutes or an hour before and just check on people. You know, have some coffee or your favorite beverage, non-alcoholic, of course, because it might be but you know, just really get to see what people were doing. And I was so surprised. I got several pictures. They were like, oh my God, we had 40 people show up. They call, some people call it coffee with care, and some people call it
that's a good idea.
virtual faculty breakfast, what have you. But just those opportunities so they feel like they were connected. And I tell them, I said, y'all know my thing is music. I know y'all saw my Instagram, The Connecting Principal. I, for the first time in my life, decided to do a TikTok.
I was so proud of you.
So, thank you. And keep praying for me, because my
Ms. Williams over there working out her exercises. I saw y'all. I did.
I told them, I said, you can utilize
Don't rush
those
challenge.
pictures, to connect with your kids and connect with each other. And sometimes they just need us to be vulnerable and say and open up and say, this is okay. because
Right.
even though, they want to make sure, I always tell them I pride myself on integrity, but how am I leading with integrity during this time? I want that to always be my legacy, But I
Absolutely.
think you, Dr. Otway, was talking about students. I was a Hurricane Harvey principal, and we were actually the school district that everybody saw on CNN. A couple of my teachers were on there. I mean, our whole district was out for about 2.5 to 3 months. And so I had to have two schools placed in my building. I had a middle school, and then we had some pre-K students in our school. And I remember we were doing these calling things because calling students and checking on them. And you're right, you have some, we haven't heard from them. So we would call them Harvey drive-bys, and we would divide them up by staff members, and we'd go and check, on people. Now, obviously, you may have to have some social distancing happening, but I will tell you that did the best thing for our parents that we couldn't call because they have a prepaid cell phone. Their phones weren't working. So they have no access to their email. So we kind of had to think in that realm, like, how do we get in touch with them and let them, know we still care. We're still here for you.
Right.
Don't worry about it. We'll be starting school soon. So that may be one piece that you can do, is just put them in teams.
I just like that.
So we
quarantine
do have-
drive-by.
We have the, and the drive-bys, they're like, you can't go because of the sickness. We have a good system for, the district even allotted the attendance committee now is helping with the calls. So we have, I think our lowest was 82% by grade level, and then pre-K was like 100%. So we have a smaller and smaller, and my school psychologist, she's like, I'm not leaving this call log alone. Fourth grade was our highest at the beginning. They're like 69% when we started the weekly calls, and they're down to 4 kids that are in the dark. But when it comes to that daily, like that daily interaction, like interacting with them, like something like like you mentioned, the parade, like what to do to say other than them going to school. So, you do your weekly or your monthly activities with the kids, the town hall meeting, and that's where the teachers engage with them. And I can jump into a class when I have time, but which I probably need to do more of. But as far as like really just what is the time to get all the kids?
Yeah, and that's only when you have time, right?
Like I don't have, like that's why I have a big gap there.
Yeah,
and, with the staff, 2 things I wanted to mention. Somebody on here mentioned that with the staff, we have a Monday morning meditation. It's all optional. And so that's where Monday morning meditation used to happen in the building Monday morning. We'd come in before work hours, and we would say, the meditation of the word for the week. And some people were from a Christian background, they weren't. So that Monday, they would still say the scripture. Do you have any praise reports? So the Monday morning meditation, we have it twice now. So we have it on Mondays, and then we have it right before the staff meeting. So 15 minutes before the staff meeting, anyone who wants to come.
That's a good idea.
More people now that it's online be involved. So that has been something that, like I said, started. We had that in the regular traditional school, as we would call it now. And then now we go into having it before the staff meeting, and it's run by the same person. But paras, the instructional paras, my media specialist, she put together this packet. I charged her with putting together this activity. We we're in the process of curating stories or read alouds for the school. We're calling it the Tiger's Couch. So the Tiger's Couch, and it's featuring College Park's finest, because that's our logo and our mascot. So our custodians, our cafeteria workers, our paraprofessionals, and then the front office and administrators, we're going to be the content. So we're curating the stories now, the read alouds, and she's over technology. So some people will be reading on a couch. Some people will be using screencasts and all these new schools, these new strategies. So she did a tech activity at the beginning of the so she has her moments where she, at the beginning of the faculty meeting, should do something for 20 minutes or less, depending on the content. But so the paras are engaged, they're learning, and okay, now I can go write my story. So we won't have anything tomorrow, but then there was another contest. Who the top 3 people to submit.
I like the contest.
Yeah, they get a
Those are awesome.
and then you can send them, like I said, I will get some sort of tax write-off for this, but the money, my gas money, and some people are winning more than others. But anyway,
I know.
But it's a $10 gift card. They've got, they use Walmart, and you just go. How do you want it? You want it on your cell phone? You want it on your your email. So then, but that's something that has engaged. The teachers are working hard. Why would I ask them?
Right.
And some teachers, they text me in the middle of the meeting. I love to read a story. But I've created this channel, this YouTube channel, put it on my media specialist. You're going to get the videos, you're going to put them on the YouTube channel, and we don't have to do it right now, but that's a way to engage them and contributing to the school. So
Right. Awesome.
I would definitely say utilizing the social media platforms has been huge for me. I've got like the Instagram and the Twitter and really I found like it's good when you're like really intentional about like your content that you provide, because oftentimes you see like a lot of people putting out like lots of information and it's great, but feedback from my community is, we're informationed out. Like, yes, we know there's tons of resources. Yes, we know we can do all of these things. And so providing like content that's meaningful, relevant, that comes from the heart. I didn't used to post videos of myself because I was like a little bit like, never, like I'm not doing that. But they respond so well to it and it gets so many more views that it almost feels like they're able to have a conversation with me. And so I feel like doing that is really powerful to touch the community. And then we have several like access points to parents. So we use like Parent Square, and parents get texts on the phone, or they can get the emails and then they can appreciate it and they can like, and they can do emails back. We utilize a platform, a student platform called Seesaw. That's another one where I can go in, like, I can go in and I can like students' work and I can comment on students' work. And they love that. And sometimes that's pressure because I feel bad. I want to get to everybody's assignment. And then, like many of you said, making those personal, individualized phone calls, that's been powerful. Keeping some of our traditions and then adding new traditions. Utilizing social media. So we still do our Corey Goes Green Wednesdays, wear your green shirt, snap a picture of you recycling, or our spirit days, things like that. But with all of that being said, the part that I struggle with the most in this is that this really uncovers to me the huge inequity in access for students. Because I'm reaching the kids who have the devices. I'm reaching the parents who can pay for the internet access and the cell phone bills and have devices. Our school is almost 1-to-1. So I have school issued devices to kids. But what good is a device if you don't have internet at home? You don't have Wi-Fi.
Absolutely.
So that's the piece that I struggle with, is how do I ensure that I'm reaching every family, that I'm giving every family access to something that's meaningful and purposeful to them when technology is not reaching everyone. So that's kind of been my struggle.
That equity and access is huge. And I call it, our slip is showing, right? It really is highlighting the things that we already knew as educators, but now everyone gets to see what's really happening. And that is huge, not knowing. And then the part about the parents, like parents need support too, because you have to tell parents sometimes, you know what, it's okay. Do what you can. Because I've had parents like, I don't know why you still, y'all know who's passed before already and who's not ready to go on. Why we still have to take grades and do this and this and that. And that understand that we just really want to keep the children engaged, and so that they are doing some learning, because it is 3 months, and we know when we get back in school, they already have a summer slide anyway. But, just making sure we support parents as well, because this is new for them. They didn't, this is a struggle for them, especially parents who still have to work. And I know there are some parents who had to ship their children off to somewhere else, because they still have to work, or they're not home to monitor the work. So even if I do have it, I can't monitor even if they do have electronic devices. And so that is true. That inequity is huge.
I have a question. Who is from Texas? Okay.
Dr. Young, and
I didn't hear what the question was.
My question is, there was just an article published on CNN's feed about San Antonio School District and using buses to I just wanted to know how that was going.
They do that in Georgia County. They do it in Cobb County. Cobb County uses the buses, and I think Gwinnett and Cobb County are one of the two. They use buses.
So how is that going with providing access?
So I will share just a couple of things that are happening in Texas. One, yes, there's a district outside of San Antonio ISD who is using their buses, and each of the buses are zoned to particular neighborhoods where students can access the internet. One of the caveat or pieces of that is, you know, Texas, we have I'm sure as other states have the opportunity for students to be in magnet schools or charter schools. And so it depends on if you're from that particular district, then you may be able to do what you need to do based on the device that some of them may give you. Some of our districts have worked really hard in making sure the students have devices who don't normally have the access. But if you're not a part of that district and you're in a charter school or another school in that area and you don't have that, then that also becomes a question. But from what I hear, it's working very, very well. I also hear that most of the districts in Texas are doing the best they can with buying new devices and handing out the devices that they do have, so that students and parents who don't have them have the access, along with other resources. Like just yesterday in your area, Latrice, there was a long line. We love outlets in Texas, okay?
Yes, we do. Yes, I got the message about the outlet. Oh my God.
Those are the best.
Yes, premium.
I
Houston
missed the
premium
one in
outlet.
Texas.
That's
Yes,
it. Down the
That's
street
the
from
best.
me. Okay.
So at the outlet,
Yes, I saw that.
San Marcos is the best.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Houston premium just came. It just.
Oh,
yeah.
that's true. That's
Say
true.
the one by
I'm
the
sorry.
trees
I
is
a little
digress.
newer.
I'm sorry. You were making a point. I'm so sorry.
That's the one I go to. But the local food bank did a food
Yes.
drive where they gave like 15 pounds of fruit, and I mean it was massive. The line was backed up down the freeway.
Yes, it was.
That's how many people, and so they partnered with that the outlets and local school districts to get the word out. And I mean, it went on from what, Latrice, maybe noon to like 9 last night.
I got a message about it because my cousin lives up that way near Prairie View. She works at Prairie View. She sent it to me, and I just thought, and I just thought, oh my God, this is going to be massive. But also in the area, when we're talking about equity and everything, I don't know who wouldn't. I mean, I'm not trying to judge that they don't need it, but this area, I don't know. I guess people came from far. We're way out in the boonies, and Houston Premium Outlets is only like a freeway exit away from me, and the homes are massive over here. It's a beautiful area. So
it is.
I'm thinking the line was coming from people from all over. But yes, I did hear about it, but I did not. Of course, I didn't partake in it, but I did hear about
you're
it.
social distancing,
Yes,
physical distancing.
Lord. I could imagine what it was, but yes, they did do something big, right?
Have the Amazon boxes like Miss Williams.
Yes.
And I see so much of the human spirit come out, because what I've tried to tell my staff, we are in a crisis. We're in a crisis. And when we think about what resources do we already have, if you know you can pull a lesson off of iReady, why are you going to go pull a whole new? We're not teaching new content. We're orienting our students and
that's a good point.
And reality to them. So if that's what they use, we're going to pull a lesson off of iReady. We're going to make it reasonable. And I don't care if they learned it 2 months ago. They're still in the academic environment. So
absolutely,
you see all the memes, you see all the stress from the parents, and they're valuing the role of the teacher. And they're saying, wow, I didn't know. I didn't realize I can't get my child to sit down. You know, I heard in one of our meetings today, she walked out of class, but she's walking out of the whole house now. You know, and it's serious, even though they're making jokes about it.
Yeah.
So the human spirit has been huge about, and I don't feel like I always get that from some of people who are responsible for telling me what to do.
Right.
So, but I make sure that I tell them we have to be realistic. We have to be realistic. How can we maintain this? Make it as fun as possible for the kids. You know,
right.
You don't have to go digging in the crate super deep. Another thing is just the human spirit about giving. How can we help? Well, that's not safe if you come on campus, but we just want to help. We have to have X amount of people. So you have to balance that safety over, what's healthy for us.
Right.
Because, teachers, how come only 5 people can come and help with distribution? It would be if we had 10 people, but then that's a predicament. So It's just about being positive. We're leading through something and having grace on everything. I get nervous and anxiety when my staff text me, I know you're busy. Please don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm here for you, right? I almost
Exactly.
feel like, what is
Still
it something
servant
I'm
leadership.
putting off that I don't have enough time for you? Now, we talked about self-care where we have to put it in balance.
Right.
That's their way of saying, I understand you can't answer every 2 questions. So, then the email goes out, please read the emails I send, read them thoroughly.
Right.
Because
Right.
that's going to have a lot of, this is not the time for me to reread an email for you.
Right.
But if you need me, I'm here. So
Absolutely.
it's just like, I need to make sure if I'm too busy, that means I'm not managing my self-care.
Right.
Help you. And
Right.
just everybody having grace. You get these emails from parents and they're very frustrated. They're very frustrated.
Right.
And I don't know how to do this. Don't.
Right.
Let's
Do the best you can. Right.
And I do have families who I work, I have my children, and I have no place to lay my head.
Yes.
I have a teacher calling me saying, I work, I want to go and help. Let's be safe about this. I want the child to be helped too.
Right.
Who's gonna help? So all of that cycle of what are we doing when we're doing it, and having grace and having patience. I had a parent who went to, now we're in this place of our own individualized schoolwork.
Right.
She went to the wrong school. She went to the wrong school. She got that packet. She went on our website. This doesn't match. Yes, our teachers. Okay, how can we get you? Because I understand your frustration.
Right.
I understand what's going on, but just continue to maintain that. What is reasonable? What is reasonable? And how are we all doing that to say it's okay?
Right.
No one showed up for my lesson. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Okay, so our last one's great conversation. I so hate that we're almost at the end. We're gonna go real quick because we're at 8:22. So our last topic is about planning. So typically during this time of year, as I stated, we are already on our way with planning professional development, hiring, just different myriads of things. So if we all can pop in, and what advice would you give to other administrators who are struggling to figure out what should I be doing at this time with the uncertainty of whether or not we're going to be in our building at the beginning of next year? What should I be working on right now? So what are you working on right now in your building? What did you work on with the last week or two in preparing for next year?
Master scheduling.
Master scheduling, okay.
Master scheduling.
Hiring.
The best that we can do right now with what we know. And I probably have one vacancy. So, I'm not stressed about it, but it is a Spanish position. So, hey, world, I'm looking for a Spanish
Well,
teacher.
if this gets too stressed, see, y'all
Speak
not
Spanish,
You gonna come over here, Dr. Young? We'll take you. Thank you, Dr. Young. Alice.
So in Los Angeles, we are closing our budgets. So we planned for, we already went through that budget season. So our PD objectives will basically had already been set. At my school, we're partnered with UCLA. So we're going to continue our work with cognitively guided math instruction and readers and writers workshop. So that piece was already set. And because of our bargaining unit agreements with the teachers union, there's a protocol and due dates that we have to meet for the matrix and teacher assignments. So that will be what we do in the next couple of weeks, because we have a system, ECAS, they've already projected enrollment. And so we've looked at ratios. So those are, that's what we'll be doing in terms of planning for next year with PDs and, like you said, master schedules. Whether or not we'll be in our buildings, we don't have an official word yet. We know we'll be doing summer school online. And so we'll see how that goes. That's why that piece was so interesting about access to the internet, because at my school, the devices were not the issue. The issue was connecting. So we did and are giving out hotspots to families that need hotspots. And of course, Verizon and Spectrum are offering free internet services
Yeah.
for new customers. If you are
Yeah.
existing or you defaulted or something happened,
You're not getting it.
you're not
Right.
getting that. So thank God we
Right.
have the hotspots to fall back on. But that piece of sending school buses out to be in certain areas and connect that way, that was really interesting. And so that's why I was asking how that was going.
There is one piece I did forget to mention, and I recently learned this by just talking to a colleague. But in the San Antonio area, they actually still have some tribes that they are still.
They do.
And so
Wow.
that
They do.
was also a push because
They
they're, I
do.
think they're about 45 minutes out, 45 minutes to an
Mhm.
hour out.
Oh,
And so that
wow.
was also a push while those buses were out there because they don't. I don't want to mess this up, and I do not want this is nor reflective, but I think they still have their values where that's that modern technology piece.
Yes,
Mhm.
it
So
is.
they were trying to make sure that the kids were still being,
Got it.
educated.
Yep.
In
You're
our
right.
district is, we did over spring break, we received an email just letting us know, and it hasn't come through, but I don't know if it's a company or if it's the state, but they put together a grant so that there'll be hotspots in the zones of the areas where our students live. So they'll be able to use those hotspots with the devices, because we were able to give devices for 3rd through 5th grade, but once again, the inequity of access, and maybe I had a job and thought I could pay $10 a month.
Yeah.
But paying $10 a month the first 2 weeks is one thing, but that second 2 weeks paying, because I think the lowest was like $10 a month that they could get. But then if you have 3 students or 3 of your children in the house, that Wi-Fi is they're not all gonna be able to do the work.
That's right.
That's
So,
right.
It's challenging.
hopefully, if we do get that grant, and I don't know if there's in LA or what companies may be giving it, but it's going to be in the areas where our students live, so they don't have to travel to it, but they'll have free Wi-Fi with some type of code. So prayerfully, we will get that for our students. But then there's still, inequity, and at least in the turnaround schools where I choose to work, it is a huge gap, and the gap just gets.
Yeah, it does.
And we talk about culture and climate, and then we talk about preparing for next year.
Yes.
What are we preparing for? Because our students are already in trauma, and then we have teachers who live in trauma and have these experiences. So when we think about what the PD also PTSD, and I happen to have a sister who's a consultant who has already started talking to me about, I'll come down. She's my older sister. She said, I'll come and take care of your school because they're going to need it. And she's a clinical psychologist. So she's like, I'm all about this because it's going, our teachers are going to be damaged. We have damaged ourselves from this because this is, once again, this is a pandemic. This is not Snowmageddon.
It is
I
not.
can still laugh. I stayed overnight in the school. I can tell you it was 210. It went to 175. It went to 62. I can read the numbers as they were leaving in Snowmageddon. This is going to impact because it's death. It's like, when we used to read in history about Spanish flu and all this stuff. This is traumatic international trauma. And our teachers are going to need a budget or some type of, and it's not just the school counselor.
True SEL.
Yeah, some true SEL, just walking back in the halls, and whatever school does look like is a huge.
Or anxiety of you, or you're going to get it. Yeah.
Anxiety.
Yeah.
So when you're already in places where, and we work with a healthier generation, we happen to have a grant, but when we talk about planning, our districts are definitely planning what schools are looking like. We're talking about what, today, they even lean towards talking about, well, we have to wonder about class size and all this stuff, right? And so we can't control the when, the where, the how, but we can control somewhat of our budgets as long as they stay. But we have to be cognizant that in our working environment, we're just like right now, we're saying we're in a crisis. The teachers that are coming back to work, the parents are going to be traumatized. So that parent who was already upset is coming back, and we're about to go through if we do go through a huge recession. Who's going to be working for me? That hiring is what I've been doing the last few weeks, and I'm interested about hiring. But whoever, I want no vacancies. I want to have that one position open. And those are important to me right now. But then when I think about what is the opening of school going to look like for health, so I don't know, but I know I want it to be true because we're going through a crisis that is different than things in school. And I think in schools, more so than any other business or organization, it is as if you keep going Like they will have us sitting at our desk on a computer all day long, even though no other online work works like virtual job works like this. We can 7 to 3. If you have to sit on a computer, that's realistic.
Right.
In some, for some people. So as
Right.
leaders, we have to sit back and say, who is walking in this building to do this work? And I want them to stay, and I want them to be viable. And that's a heavy thing that kind of weighs people up at night. It's like we keep talking about school, but really in the back of my mind, I'm like, what's the mental health of my staff or all of us gonna be? Yeah. And that's not just the maintenance of what we've talked about. And I think we have to be prepared.
The teacher that we have now, or that left for us March 13th, is not going to be the teacher that returns in August, if in August. So we are definitely having to plan. We don't know what our district is going to do, but in terms of the mental health piece, and I think I heard you mention PTSD, and I had that conversation with someone today, that is going to be real for us as leaders. People, they've already looked to us as to what to do and how to handle it. So we can strong Black women, women of color, any woman, period, walking around that school building like we have it all handled, but people don't understand.
They don't.
That we're carrying.
That's right.
It's 75 of you, and and they want you to be responsive to their every single need, and we do it without thinking about it. Now it's just natural for most of us. But when you get those calls about a sick parent, or somebody's in the hospital, a relative, think about those teachers who were fragile before we left. How fragile are they now? That's exactly about to fall apart. Your single teachers, or your teachers that are caring for a sick or elderly parent, or someone with cancer that has chemo treatments. And you got to consider these individuals, and they're going to come back to you in August, or whenever we come back. And what kind of place or space are they going to be in? So our role as not only instructional leaders,
transforming,
organizational leaders, going to take on a whole different role. We don't know what it looks like yet. There are questions that haven't even been created yet. There's a role that doesn't even exist yet, but in the next 2 months, it's going to come out, and we're going to be expected to do it, and do it in a manner of high quality. That's going to be supportive of all of our teachers.
I was going to say, I used to do auditing for adults with disabilities here in Texas. And so what I also see that's going to be a big part of professional development and staff we have to really support during this time are our nurses, because protocols will change. There's going to have to be some type of assessments. They're probably already following CDC, and they're operating under their own license. But that is now going to be a huge part of returning back surveys to families. Who had it? Who have they been in contact with? Where have you been? That's a whole nother layer. And
the enrollment packet is going to have those questions.
It's going to be, and what to look for. And explaining to parents that I'm even thinking like, typically you have the parameters of sending students home with a certain fever. Well, I don't know what that's going to look like now. That has to be adjusted. So in our trainings with staff and everything, that whole piece of
keeping ourselves safe
that's going to be a piece that we don't normally get that deep into, but we will probably have to in returning back for fall or whenever we all come back. So I'm starting to think ahead about that, because that's a huge concern when you're talking about more than 10 people and you look at a school. It's a city.
It is.
So I've heard us say that we're working on things such as hiring, professional learning for next year, teacher assignments, master schedules, keeping in mind perhaps for students and adults, social emotional learning, and putting plans in place to identify those individuals who might have had or been exposed to the virus. And thinking differently about how we're going to interact with each other. So there are a lot of different things, and even unanswered or questions we don't know, like you said, Anika, at this point, there are going to be a lot of things that come up that we don't know. And and in Georgia, I don't know, Ms. Williams, has it peaked in California? Have you all met the curve?
Like met apex? Have you reached apex?
The virus, you know, the curve they've been speaking about?
Yeah.
Have you all, has California,
Peaked.
Peaked.
Oh,
So it's apex. So once it
And
meets
then,
apex, then it starts to go
we
down.
also, what I've heard the mayor and the governor talk about is now we're going down. So the number
Okay.
So you've reached apex. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
right.
good.
It was over the past 2 weeks that we were slated to reach apex. Although I know for LA County, we still have they've extended our shelter in place. So although they've seen us hit the apex and now we're on a downward slope, we're still, pretty much homebound, and most individuals are working from home except essential employees. But I would say, I just want to say that all of this is very validating for me because I took a little bit of notes, and social emotional learning was at the top of my priority for planning. So I know we're instructional leaders. I know that academics always have to be at the forefront, but we can't get to those academics until we get to the traumas of being food insecure, of having, there's higher rates of domestic violence in homes right now, neglect of children, like, being affected by the virus and losing a family member, or just having to witness that, or just simply watching stuff on TV. So like all of that is so relevant and has to be addressed before we can get to all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. I would also like to add that we also need to take this time to consider, they say that the virus may come back in the fall. Right. So what does that look like? What is our plan in case it comes back in the fall? We had to react so fast to put a plan in place. What does that training look like? What already resources that could already be in place if we have to do this again? Now, God forbid we don't, but they did say there is a possibility. So they're ready.
And we did talk about that, like the online learning doesn't stop now, going forward. I mean, because that was a kind of expectation and highly encouraged in the classrooms anyway, to use Google Classroom and to provide students with, provide lessons that require them to use technology. So it's going to be even more imperative that we're intentional about the instruction and how we deliver instruction to our students, and even training those parents, because what we found is the students knew how to access Google Classroom and claim their accounts and things of that nature, but parents didn't know what that meant. So when we have our parent meetings, those are going to even look different. It's training them how do you help your child at home, maybe even having more participation from parents coming into those meetings, because you know what, I'm not going to be caught again not being able to help my child. So maybe the parent, involved in workshops, and most of us are Title I schools are providing ongoing anyway. It would increase participation because they want to get that information and also know how to get online and use that technology. And then hopefully, like for my own self, my own children, we're in a district where it is one-to-one. They have Chromebooks right now at home. In my district, it's not, we were piloting schools. So it gives us time to start thinking about how we're going to maybe roll that out a little more quickly, or what will that look like, so that we can, or at least have time, like you said, to assess what technologies they have in their homes, because we didn't even have time to do that, to see what do you have. You have a cell phone, you have a tablet, you have a computer, do you have access to one? You only have one versus two, you're sharing one. And so we're doing the best that we can with what our hand that we were dealt, but we are going to have to be very intentional with what we're doing and how we're providing instruction to not only our students, but support to our parents, so that in the event it does come back, as they're saying it may do, we have time, even if it is packets, like we have time to figure out, okay, what are we going to put in place for packets, and have time to actually make packets and not feel like you're having to run in the building, you're compromising your own health because you have to run in the building and get the packets made. We'll know ahead of time what we need to work on and what we need to focus and have a plan of action. And that will be, and I think that will help with anxiety, because you will know what to do as opposed to just being thrown.
I also like the fact that we have California, Texas. If California is closer to reaching apex, just kind of networking, even if it's just checking if you're on it to see what you're doing, because then that can give us some ideas depending on where Texas area is compared to where we are, because the district is looking at it from a district level, but then school by school. So what did you do? If you can have 10 people in your building, did you put them in the cafeteria, spread them out? Here's how you get your kids on, and then here's your stuff, go ahead and go home. Just, it would be cool to see having the advantage of being able to connect with California and seeing when they move off of
that's a good point.
Of shelter in place, what things you do even if it's in the summer with your staff too. What did you bring in staff.
Right. No, I'd be happy to share. I mean, one thing, talk about supporting parents. I've been hosting coffee with the principal so that they understand instruction, because we've worked for about 6 years on changing our instruction to be hands-on and
Now they don't have things at home.
applying your learning and exploration. And so then with this shift, that's what my teachers and I are talking about, is can you keep that how do we keep that authentically with technology? Because we're not trying to go back and have worksheets and drill and kill, because that's not going to help. That's certainly not going to help our kids. So that's the conversation that we're having right now when we talk about next year, or as we're talking about our needs now, and then also what it might look like in the fall. One thing that I have said to parents consistently is that, remember, there was no planning at all.
No, it was.
So one thing that I have said, another thing that I've said to parents, expect that the milk is going to spill. Because this is new for everyone, and that is the glorious part about it, is that we are all learning this together. Yes, as educators, we know how to learn, so we will take the lead on that. But I promise you that there are going to be a ton of mistakes, and that's one thing that we're going to be completely comfortable with. Making mistakes, making them in public, celebrating them. But the calls that go out, anything that that is one piece that is consistent in my communication, is that we're flying a plane that we didn't expect to have to pilot at all.
Right.
So thank you for patience. Thank you for sharing your ideas. And everybody has been, and I think someone said this, everyone's been really cooperative and supportive. I mean, even parents or people that are voicing their frustrations,
Right.
It's just for that reason, is to voice it, there's not blame or shame. It's just, this is right,
Right.
Exactly.
What do I do?
So
Absolutely.
these just came in the mail. I don't know if you can see them, but I am sending my staff postcards.
I like
So
that.
that
Where
was,
did you order them from? Is it Amazon or?
I ordered them from Amazon.
All right, don't put.
Let's see, it's the vendor or the designer. Her name is Emily McDowell and Friends. So, and they're really cute.
I saw that on Instagram. Did you get that? Yeah, I like those. Hold it
Yeah,
up again.
they're just, like you said, they're just pep talks.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, and that's because I used to use a calendar and leave them on their windshield or
Right.
their, those kinds of things. So just wanted to add that, because I know we have
That's good.
of appreciation that that we created. So
Yeah, that's the big talk in the group. Says, what are you all doing for teacher appreciation?
Oh,
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
We can come on and do that. That's a whole nother
Sharing the email.
yeah, that's a whole nother that's a session by itself. But plus we don't want to give away the
we can do
they'll
that
probably
after
watch
teacher
it.
appreciation.
I tell them. So we'll keep those for ourselves. Well, any last remarks before we go on? I'm going to kind of go around and let everyone kind of talk, and I'm gonna go in the order that I see you guys on my screen. So Anika, do you have any final thoughts?
This has just been a real enlightening group this evening. I appreciate the invite, Ms. Hudkirk. I hope that we can all connect again. And ladies, we know that we're just going to continue to do the best that we can do. And that's it. But make sure we take care of ourselves as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Ms. Harris.
First of all, just thank you for the invitation. It's been awesome just hearing from everyone and just getting all these wonderful ideas. And knowing that, like you said, we're not alone in this, that we do have others that are experiencing the same things that we are. Definitely going to keep practicing. I believe that was Miss Peterson, that's shutting things off, that schedule. So thank you for that. So I do have a couple of tips that I'm going to implement ASAP. So thank you.
Awesome. Ms. Peterson?
I just want to thank you, of course, for inviting me to this. And this felt like a self-care session for me. So I'm grateful for this group that has birthed itself out of the pandemic, and we're from all over. And I look forward to more of this, hopefully. I think we heard something about staff appreciation and teacher appreciation, the next topic. So
Yep.
I'm just looking forward to more of this, because as it is evolving and everything is new, we are definitely learning from each other. And I do appreciate that and want to continue.
Awesome. Ms. Ortega?
Yes. Well, I just want to, first of all, like everyone else, thank you so much, Principal Kirk, for inviting me to participate. This has been an amazing event. Like my shirt I'm wearing says "Empowered Women, Empower Women." So I feel so inspired by each and every one of you, and I'm so proud to be, you know, a Black woman in leadership and doing this work alongside you. So we might be apart, you know, across the nation, but we're definitely side by side doing this work, and it's clear based on the conversation, the dialogue that we had today. So I just want to encourage you guys to stick with it and stay in the work. And I'm truly inspired. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Young.
Well, again, I do want to thank you as well for the opportunity. I love the fact that I've had an opportunity to be with all of you. I truly believe that iron sharpens iron. And I think that us getting together today has not only helped myself therapeutically, but also helped those that are on Facebook Live with us. I just want to have everybody and say to continue striving. This, you know, was not planned, but the best way that we can tackle this is if we're in it together and we make sure that we're all working towards a common goal. So thank you so much for the invite.
Awesome. Dr. Otway.
So first I want to share a little funny that I told my friends I was going to be like on a chat, like we were going to chat, like we were going to chat. So I, you know, between doing 50 million things, I was thinking we were going to have a chat. And then I got the poster yesterday, you know, and I was like, oh, this is going to be live. I got to put some lipstick on. You know, down on the top of this fro at the top of this hair that I braided. So I really want to appreciate you for just, you know, just even from the thinking point, I didn't even think of it at this level. So just for putting the ideas together, you know, we met via Instagram. You text me on Saturday, I think I was driving my daughter somewhere. And I just really appreciate the invite because it just shows the power of innovation and the power of ideas. And so I want to thank you even before we walked into this space for putting the space together. So that was kind of funny, but then just, I feel so empowered. I feel like this is just normal, that women don't just walk into work with all the answers, and there's not a yes, yes, yes for everything. And these three topics were very important. And I'm gonna attempt to improve in all three buckets. You know, as women, it's like, I'm just used to growing up with women. I have three sisters. So it's just getting that positive energy from someone who is in your same space and is not just someone who you work with. And I just really appreciate it. So I feel inspired and I love the conversation, and just thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Williams.
Ditto.
Right.
It's nice to meet everyone, and thank you for the invitation, for the opportunity, for the support. That is huge, and yes, a big win that has come out of this crisis. And I know that forevermore education is revolutionized. I just really want us to be able to take advantage of whatever will come in the future. So with that, I will also add to keep track of our wins, because there's a lot that we as leaders have to do. And so in our reflection, keep track of our wins, no matter the size.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Dr. Shoemaker.
I would just like to thank you for the invitation. It was an honor to be on tonight with all of the leaders with different backgrounds and learning a lot. And this was a self-care engagement for me as well, Ms. Peterson. And just thank you. And I have to keep reminding myself that we never know all of the answers to anything anyway, but just breathe. That would be my advice to all of the leaders who are on Facebook Live. Just breathe, live one day at a time, and take one step at a time, and do the best you can for our kids.
Yes. And just one more caveat too. D Nice is on, just in case. Get off this
I'll be
call.
joining.
Don't be mad, but anyway, I digress. I just have to check what's happening next in my
Right.
life.
So we're going to see y'all at D Nice in a second.
Yeah,
So let me just say,
now we know each other.
Yeah, part two.
let me just say that, you know, when in thinking about doing this with you guys, first of all, like I told you all when we first got on, and for those who are watching us live, we, you know, with the exception of a couple of us that are on here, we are, excuse me, that means it's time, little one is coming in. We didn't know each other, or we didn't know each other prior to this. It's truly been through professional learning network of watching each other on social media and following each other and supporting each other and liking each other and sharing each other's pages and things of that nature. So it really started there. And like I said, you know, I really was excited and I wanted to meet with you guys because I felt like you all had some golden nuggets to really share with our community, especially our leaders and our aspiring leaders. And so I was honored, and I'm in it. You all, it, you know, it went beyond my expectation, and it was really truly to empower others and to get us together. Because again, you know, my family, I grew up celebrating Kwanzaa, and so there's 7 principles, and everything that we did today or this moment, things that we're doing now in our careers and our lives and moving forward. You know, my dad says all the time, you know, the 7 principles are not just for during December, it's 365. And so we're truly exhibiting Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. This is Umoja because we're showing unity. And we all have Nia, which is the purpose. And so if we think about those things, and you don't have to be, you know, Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday. It's just, you know, Kiswahili words and for those terms, and then they're principles, and they're principles that should be carried out throughout the year. It's just like anything else with, or even with any holiday. You don't just celebrate, you know, Christmas on this 25th. We're praying, we're being obedient throughout the year. And so I'm just hoping that this will continue with us. Someone was inspired today or got an idea. I know I did. I have a lot of ideas that I wrote down notes for today. And I'm looking forward to working with you guys. And just know that I do appreciate you guys, and you all are empowering. You've influenced me, whether you not, you know, indirectly, whether you know it or not. And so I'm just, you know, grateful that you all agreed to do this with us today. And I'm sure there's someone out there that you touched in one word or a comment that you made, and they now know better and know how to do it. And that's really what's about, you know, when you know better, you do better. And then knowing that we're not in this alone. And as women and women of color, it's important that, you know, your voice is heard and people know that you have some great things that are happening in your buildings and in your schools and in your lives, and you have something to share. And that's what this platform was about. It was about really empowering others and ourselves. So I appreciate you guys. I know we kind of went over a little bit, but hey, it was good information for me anyway. And I get to go back and I'll send y'all the recording too and look at it and get some more ideas. But we will do this again. So I'll send you a cat. We'll be talking online and off. We won't just have to talk on live, but I just appreciate the conversation. I didn't want to be a presenting kind of deal. I wanted, this is how we talk and this is what we are. These are true feelings. So if you are staff members and this is one of your leaders that's on this platform, you now have a true glimpse of your leader and what they're feeling, what they're thinking. And so yes, check on my friends, check on my colleagues. Next time you talk to your leader, say, hey, how are you doing? And how are you doing? What can I do? And some, you know, and I've had some people do that lately. And so I'm really appreciative and blessed, but you all stay blessed, stay safe, wash your hands, you know, self-care
Yes,
is about.
yes.
And the main thing, my 2020 goal this year, and you know, in light of everything going on, was balance. And so try to really maintain that balance so that you can have longevity, because again, as a principal, as a leader, we expire quickly, and people don't realize that that stat is not put out a lot. So we just need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves.
Can I
Thank
ask,
you.
and there's
Thank
several
you.
of you guys, I think I clicked on you all on the flyer that Principal Captain Kirk shared yesterday, but I want to make sure that I'm connecting with each of you all. Would
Yeah,
you guys
share
be
your
kind enough to
Instagram
share?
handles and stuff, or who's like, if you have an Instagram or a platform, or if people want to follow you.
So my Instagram is Principal Otway +4. That's a long story, the +4 part.
Okay.
And then my Twitter is, and I have a Wednesday why. So every Wednesday I say why I stay in the game and why I love it. And Wednesday, so it's Dr__OTWAY, my last name, Dr_Otway on Twitter. So when on Instagram, it's professional and a lot about my 4 adult children. And then Facebook is pretty much, I'm not on it as much, but it's just my first name and my last name, Maisha Otway, on Facebook.
Awesome. Okay. Anyone else want to share their Instagram platform? You don't have to, just if you.
I don't have a
Sure.
professional one.
Okay.
so-
Okay.
I don't either.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
We'll work on
I can
that.
be,
We'll work on
Yeah.
that.
That should be my
Just
next
started
goal.
following
Yeah.
Principal Ortega. I think I followed you in the wee hours of this morning.
Yes.
But I have an IG and it's the Connecting Principal.
Yes, I follow
Yes.
you.
So I just
oh yeah, we followed each other. Yes,
you.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes,
I didn't even know
I'm
that's what it was.
Yes. Yeah, so definitely I can be followed on Instagram and Twitter at Principal Ortega.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. And so you all have a wonderful, and I'm of course Principal Captain Kirk with the C, Captain, on Facebook and Instagram, and principalcaptainkirk.com for blogspot that I just started. So just, you know, check it out when you can. But I do appreciate you guys. Again, it's been a blast. This is my adult time.
Oh.
This is my adult time. That's how I use the excuse. And yes, you all can thank me offline for getting you all dialed up, because I know you all been walking around in your pajamas and workout clothes.
Yeah.
I'll be joining Club Quarantine after
Right. And or playing Jenga with Amazon boxes like Miss Williams. Doing TikToks with Dr. Young.
Yes.
Getting the hair braided Dr. Otway on the porch, you know, doing those kind of things, you know what y'all do. Yeah, so I follow you. But thank you guys so much. You all stay blessed, stay safe,
Yes, ma'am.
and I will be in touch with you guys really soon.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you,
you.
Facebook
Bye,
Live,
thank
for
you.
watching us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Love you up there.
Good
And
night.
myself, I love
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thank you. Send you myself.
Bye, guys.
Bye.